Here we are at the Brown Crown Basement Gems, man. Episode number 3. I'm here to introduce my father-in-law, Swain. A very inspirational person to me. Someone I definitely looked up to for over the past 20 years, being with his daughter. Go ahead, man.
I told him, once he took her, it's like what my father-in-law told me, no give backs. That's you.
Got it. Yeah, she's locked in. Listen.
She's locked.
We're like this. We're like, man. Kinda forever.
Yo, just like me and her mother.
That's right. That's right.
That's
right,
my
man.
road dog.
That's it.
Yeah,
Best friend right there. But let's jump into it. Louis Swain, hails from Beacon, New York. Let's start off from the beginning.
I was born in Beacon.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, third generation Beaconite.
Okay.
So that means my mother was born there, and along with my grandfather.
Okay.
My grandfather, Samuel Lunsford, happened to be half Blackfoot Indian.
Yeah.
His father was 100% Blackfoot. I can remember my Aunt Delia telling us how when she was young, she went down to the hospital to visit her grandfather, my grandfather's father. Yeah. And she said, I looked down and she said, I looked at him and I looked at Pop and that man looks just like my dad. Mm-hmm. So that's he could never deny it.
Yeah, you guys definitely locked in. Now
But he was the only child with my great grandmother, Odelia Ellis.
Okay.
I don't think they ever married. She lived to be 103 years old.
Wow.
We used to call her Granny.
Wow.
She was, she ran the show.
Yeah, see.
Because it's what my grandfather said went, and whatever his mother said to him went.
Yeah.
And back then, you could beat your kid without going to jail.
Yeah. Yeah, they got a lot on it different now. Oh my goodness.
And like my grandfather being an only child, played a big effect on it. Took a big effect on him.
And he was a Lunsford.
He was a Lunsford.
That's right.
His father's name was Lunsford.
Got you. Wow.
And
that's deep. Yeah.
I guess there are more Lunsfords in Virginia, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But he didn't like the one child situation, so he had 10.
Listen, that was the only thing they could do was spread the roots at that point, man. That was a primary thing. Now, what about your father?
My father.
Now that's Swain.
That's Swain. Mm-hmm. My father comes from a little town in Georgia, Payville.
Okay.
Which is by Thomasville, basically the Florida-Georgia line.
Okay.
He came here through my aunt, his older sister, Mary.
Okay. Mary Ellis.
Mary Lois. Aunt Mary Lois.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Aunt Mary Lois. Mm-hmm. And Aunt Mary Lois thought that my father might end up dead because my father, he didn't look for trouble, but he didn't run from trouble.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? He was cool. He was like, let's talk about this.
Yeah. That's right.
But if we can't talk about it, okay. We got to do what we got to do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he didn't, being in Georgia, he didn't care if you were black or white.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That didn't play any,
He
was ahead of his times.
Yeah.
He really was. Because he got along good with a neighbor, older white man, knew my father had to get out of Georgia and needed money. Mm-hmm. So he spotted my father all necessary cash in regards to planting a field. Mm-hmm. So my father did X amount of acres, right?
Okay.
I want to say it's probably maybe 50 acres, So my father basically took care of it, planted it all, got it harvested, all that, took it to market, and that was his starter money to come up to New York.
Wow.
Yes.
How old was he then?
Let me see. He might have been early 20s, 1920, around there.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so
So he started in Beacon early then.
yeah, he came up. He found a company, his first job up in New York, and that's the company he ended up retiring with.
How many years?
Oh boy,
30 or 40 plus?
40 plus, yes.
40 plus.
And he was remarkable, you know. My father was really remarkable. But for him to go as far as he did
Yeah.
with a third grade education,
Yeah.
you know, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible, you know. I mean, that man, oh, shoot. And we lived on Ferry Street, right down the street from my grandparents growing up, until, you know, that's the earliest memories I have
Yeah, that's what I was
as a
gonna ask.
child.
What's the earliest where it started off for you? About 1 to 5?
It was Ferry Street. I had to be in first, second grade. No, yeah, because we left Ferry Street halfway through second grade. And he was like, "We're not renting anymore. We're buying."
Okay.
And that's where he brought the house on Spring Valley Street.
Okay.
And that was a oddity and a rarity in Beacon, because you know each area was broken up into, okay, this is the white areas, the black areas, the Puerto Rican area.
So they had that division back then.
Yeah, oh yeah, without a doubt.
All of them started like that pretty much. Yeah.
And we grew up in a all-white neighborhood. There was us, the Bow family, and the Foxes. And Mrs. Fox was the older lady, and she had no kids. And at the end of the street was the Bows. Okay. Reggie and Donna. Donna is the one that still walks with Aunt Kathy right now.
Okay.
You know,
Get
so
exercise on.
we grew up together, and you know, so like me and Reggie and Troy, we grew up with like dirt bikes, going up in the mountain.
Okay, so you guys around
we listened to rock and roll, but we also listened to R&B.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it was great growing up because we got the best of both worlds.
Exactly. You were on both sides of the
You
coin.
know, and
the Lunsfords, oh man, they all
they
over
were
Beacon.
yeah, they were the biggest fan. So I had never had any problem in regards to the black community because my mother also volunteered in the community.
That's right.
And I never had any problems in the white community because the kids that I hung out with, they were like the Lunsfords. They were one of the biggest families, white families.
What family?
The Menses and the Headies.
Memphis, okay.
And, you know, with the Menses, we somewhat mirrored each other because their oldest son and me, we were in class together. Their daughter and my sister were in class together. Okay. And our two youngest siblings were,
That's the thing, man, with Beacon. It's like generationally, man.
And the funny thing about the Menses was the oldest, his name was Lindsay Lewis. Everybody called him Lewis. My name is Lewis.
Yeah.
The daughter, her name was Kathy. And Kathy.
And Kathy, yeah.
You know, their father was from down south.
Okay.
And their mother was from up here.
Same as you.
Yeah, and so like, you know, we were like peas in the pod and everything. And
you guys really tied in with each other.
Yeah, and I never really, you know, felt threatened in Beacon growing up. I mean, because when you came up off of Spring Valley and head up Churchill Street onto Main Street, they used to call that Taco Turn. Okay. Now, my mother worked in the hat factory with a lot of Latin women. Okay. And they would come over to the house. I got to know their kids and their husbands, and, you know, so basically, growing up sometimes, I couldn't go out the house without my father and mother knowing exactly what I was doing, regardless of what area I was in. Yeah. You know, and I was blessed there. Yeah, I was blessed.
Listen, I hear this story all the time, how much your father and your mother was tied into Beacon. So I love to hear them all the time.
My mother, as a matter of fact, you know how they have the Concerned Citizen, the Beacon Day, the Spirit of Beacon Day?
Yes, yep.
The Spirit of Beacon Day originated, the white community won't let you know this, because it is what it is, but it originated after the riots. Okay. Okay, we all needed to come together, you know, and there was this woman, Nan Woodingham. She ran the neighborhood service organization, and everybody, all black children, even some Puerto Rican children, few white children. It was a community center, and Nan ran it. And Nan could walk from one end of Beacon to the other end, and all she got was yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. You know,
respect.
And she took my mother under her wing, and my mother used to, you know, because my father worked, and he worked so much, it put us in a different tax bracket.
Gotcha.
And so she couldn't get like the discounts like everybody else. Like, even though we didn't have the money, they said we had the money, but we didn't, because the more you make, the more they tax.
Don't come at you.
Yeah. So different ways and everything. The man gonna get his.
Yeah.
So my mother would volunteer. She had the kitchen sewed up.
Like with the church and stuff like that.
I mean, at the neighborhood service
and
organization.
At the service center too? Okay.
Yeah, she would prepare all the lunches. We would have a Friday swim up at the settlement camp. That camp that's right down the street from us.
Okay.
That has the Olympic pool.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
They would bus us up there, and then we come back, and she have hot bread pudding for everybody. Wow. That's everybody in Beacon knew about her bread pudding.
Yeah, and then it's like it's so community based. That's what I love. I've always loved that about Beacon from afar. You know, just like,
and
wow,
she's the one. Like that. You know, watching her is the reason why I participated in so many things that I did.
Okay.
Because, you know, like, she's like, you got to give back to your community.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, I graduated high school in 81. Spring of 82, I'm coaching Little League Baseball already. You know.
We're tied in.
And so I did that. I ended up doing volunteer firefighter.
I'm jumping too ahead. So we got like the 1 to 5 area. Give me like 5 to 10. Age of 5 to 10, and give me some like fond memories of your father and your mother. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, the best memories I ever. My father. Oh my God, see, he's Southern man.
Yeah.
Loved fast cars.
Okay.
He had this Fury Sports, 72. He would drag race. Yeah, he drag race.
Down Main Street?
No, on 84 they would go. On 84, what they did was, so what you would do is you send 2 guys across the bridge, right?
Okay.
They get on the other side, they come through, it's 2 lanes.
What?
So they slow up. Yeah. They just stop the traffic.
Yeah.
And the cars would come out. Everything was already set up, you know, because they have done it so many times.
What?
And they would drag race. Now, this 72 Fury Sports came from the factory with slicks. That's how fast the goddamn car was.
I'm trying to figure out how they shut the bridge down like that. What the police and everybody coming out like that?
If you pull up and you slow it down, and then eventually you just come to a stop, because they would come onto the ramp right off the and they would shut it all down, and away they go.
Wow.
You know?
Okay. And what else? What else you got? He's a drag racer.
Oh,
Man, he did it all.
Shit. I remember the night he wrecked the Fury, came home. I guess it had a blowout, and he jumped the guardrail. Ended up in between 2 trees.
What?
Yeah, and he came home, and his knee, I remember his knee, which I cried because his knee, he was hurting, but he was like tough man.
Yeah.
You know, he was a tough man.
Yeah. How old were you then?
Oh my God, I had to be 6. Let me see. No, I wasn't 6. I was younger than that.
Wow.
Okay, no, the Buick was a 72. The Fury was a 70. Okay. Because he got the Buick Electra 225. My mother wouldn't allow him to get any more fast cars.
Slow him down after that one.
After the accident and everything. So yeah, I was, the Fury was 70.
Okay.
70, 71. Yeah, because I was about six or seven.
And he's your hero, so of course
yeah.
you start crying. Of course, you don't want to see your hero hurt. Nobody wants to see their hero hurt at all.
True.
Okay, so we going down there. He's a drag racer. Give me a couple more.
He was
memories.
a bowler too. Oh my God, he used to love to bowl.
Hold on, not on top bowler. He must have been a pool shark too, because you're over there tearing me up on the pool table.
Well, nah, see, my father also was a hustler.
Okay, he was a hustler.
Okay, I ain't want to go there.
Okay, you didn't want to go there. No, give it all, man. We need it all.
Okay, he didn't shoot pool.
He
shot dice.
But he was in the pool. He was
always at. Kids used to. Oh my God! When it was dice, it's time to shoot dice. Yo, my father could shut. If you couldn't cover his bet, if he put down $100, right?
Yeah.
And nobody covered his bet, the table was frozen. So maybe 3 or 4 or 5 guys. Okay, I got 20 on that, and I mean, yeah, they jump in to cover the And I remember he would just like, yo, Pop, where you getting this money at? But the thing about it is, if you win big, you're going to lose big.
Yes.
You know?
That's right.
I mean, that was,
That's right.
It is what it is.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Bowling.
And bowling, oh yeah, him and my mother. My mother was the athlete in the family.
Okay.
Okay, she's the one that got us all into sports. Mm-hmm. Her brothers, oh my God. I used to hear when very few blacks played baseball. Okay. We were always on the football field, basketball court. But, a handful of blacks and some of the older whites, they saw my mother, oh, your boxer sister. Mm-hmm. That was my Uncle Richie, the one that was 1 year younger than my mother. Okay. Now, my Uncle Richie back in the day was a legend on the football field. He was unreal. Okay. Unreal. He was, you just couldn't catch him. No. And if you hit him, he's hitting you back, And I mean, my Uncle Bert, he was a phenomenal athlete. My Uncle Bubba, Sam, named after my cousin Jack's father. I remember him telling me, Ludi Luke, because he was like one of the only black men I can remember seeing in the 35 and over softball league when I was growing up. When I would come from my little league games, there's my uncle out there on the softball field. And he used to tell me, Ludi Luke, if it wasn't for the fact that we had all those damn kids and Dad needed me home, he said, grandfather wouldn't allow him to play sports because my grandmother and my grandfather needed help. That's right. With the younger ones.
How many siblings did Nana have?
Nana had a total, including her, was 10.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's Indian Blackfoot right there. That sounds right about right.
It was 10 of them. 5 boys, 5 girls.
Yeah.
Oldest to youngest, my Aunt Delia. Mm-hmm. Then my Uncle Sam. Mm-hmm. Then it was my Aunt Ann. After Ann, it was Aunt Millie, my mother, my Uncle Rich, my Uncle Bert, Uncle Marvin, my Uncle Jimmy, and my Aunt Martha Jean. Okay? So just because this is going to be saved, this is what we're going to do. My Aunt Delia, the oldest, she had 3 children. Yeah. William, Edward, and Teresa. My Uncle Sam, he had 5. It was Sam Jr., Mark, Lisa, Elaine, and Jack.
Okay, Jack's the baby.
Yep.
Okay.
And then there was my Aunt Ann. Aunt Ann had 3. Now, Aunt Ann never met her family. They're in Baltimore. Okay. There's Keith, who's the oldest, then Stuart, then Rose. As a matter of fact, my cousin Stuart just called me. I missed his call. Everything's been so hectic. Yeah. I'm thinking of him, but I just ain't got the time to get back to him.
I know.
It's funny because my Uncle Sam, my Aunt Millie, my mother, Because it was me, Sherry, Lisa, and my aunt, and Sam, my mother, and Millie all had kids. Like my cousin Sherry, my cousin Stuart, my cousin Lisa, and me. We're all born in '63.
Oh my goodness. And the ones you named, we had like at least 15 plus. Keep going.
Yeah, and then the following year it was Aunt Kathy, cousin Bill, Chinnis, Rosie, and Elaine.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
You keep going. I want to see how far you can go.
oh, I can name all my cousins, all my first cousins. Like, okay, so we went through it, and
Because you guys grew up together. And
Yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore today.
oh, our family cookouts at my grandfather's house on Roundabout Avenue. I remember when the house went up for sale, and that's when me and Stacy were starting to look for homes. And I was like, man, we should. And she's like, no. And I'm like, why? She said, I know you love your grandparents. It's a lovely location. She said, but we'll never be able to have a cookout with just us. She said, I know your family. She said, I love your family.
Yeah.
She said, but what if we're having a cookout and we want it just to be us?
They're going to pull up.
And she said, and nothing for nothing, if one knows,
Then they all go.
everybody's going to be there.
That's right. That's it.
And I was like, yeah, you know.
I love that about y'all, though. I love that, man. That togetherness, because that's what I'm so used to seeing, you know.
Shoot, I mean, I used to love throwing the big cookouts. I remember my father, yeah, I mean, his name was Swain, but
Call him Swainy.
Swainy. And, but no lie, my uncles and aunts loved him so much. Like, my uncles, I mean, my father would get drunk, right? He'd be all fucked up. And, you know, young kids, my uncles around, shit. Shit.
we go.
Listen, they fought.
Yeah.
They grew up fighting. My grandfather was a prize fighter for like two bouts.
What?
He won his first bout, lost his second one, and my grandmother said, no more.
That's it.
Yeah. But my grandfather made sure that all of his children, male, female, knew how to protect themselves. And that was passed down.
That's right.
I mean,
What was your grandfather's name?
Samuel Lunsford.
Okay, and your grandmother's name?
Her name, grandma was Odelia. Odelius,
Okay.
I think it was. What was it?
You know the maiden life?
Martha. Odelius was my great grandmother.
Okay. What's her maiden name?
Martha Barksdale.
Barksdale. Okay.
Yeah, she was a Barksdale from Peekskill,
Okay.
from the Peekskill area.
So, all right. So here we are. We got you from about 1 to 5. Now you were saying that Nana was an athlete.
Yes.
What did she do primarily? What are some of the things she got into?
Nana she was really good at baseball, softball. She played on a women's team. They were called Stardust Bar and Grill. And you had some of the predominant, most intelligent black women in the community on this team.
Okay.
But they also had white women on the team. My Aunt Mary Lois, my mother, my Aunt Rosie, Miss Paulin, who ran the MLK Center in Beacon.
Well, to say this is 60, so this integration is coming in.
Yeah.
We're doing a lot of that.
They were doing this, the softball was taking place mid 70s, early 80s.
Okay.
They were really, really dominant back then. And let me see, you had Miss Paulin, you had Caroline Medley. Oh God, I can't even remember all of them.
And the softball was primarily what she was into?
Softball and bowling.
Okay, softball and bowling.
And I mean, when she did her bowling, she bowled each week. Let's say she did the singles, the team, and the mix. and then they would go out moonlight bowling on Friday.
Oh, so yeah, she lined them up.
Yeah, and my mother, back then with the bowling, let's say it would cost you $100 to enter the league, but there were cash prizes at the end of the league, you know, and like you would get who had the highest game of the league would get X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
Who had the highest average, who had the highest, you know, first, second, and third, you know, always got the prize money.
Okay.
And my mother always, I remember one year I can remember her first in average, first high score. Her team came in first place. I mean, oh my God. Back then, she walked away with $500-600, and
Nana was nice.
Yeah, and we were going up to the Chinese restaurant in Poughkeepsie on Main Street to celebrate.
There you go.
You know.
So Nana has skills, man.
Yeah, she had, but she came from a very athletic family.
Okay. Yeah.
Now my father's family. I mean, my father. Athletics is instilled at a young age.
Gotcha.
Okay. What was instilled into my father at a young age was work.
Yeah.
You know, he was out in the fields with my grandfather. So, but his siblings, like my aunts, were some of the fastest in their communities.
Yeah.
And they ran track.
Okay. So backed up too.
My father's, one of his younger brothers, was incredible on the football field. Rumor had it that he was offered a full ride at the University of Georgia back when Herschel Walker was there. Yeah. Yeah, and
that dude.
you know, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't get an opportunity to you know,
chase it the way he wanted to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But he was a big, you know, he was big time into bowling though.
Okay. So
He did it with his job.
Bowling seemed big in the family too.
Yeah, and it was funny because one of Troy's first jobs was working at the bowling alley in Beacon.
Oh, okay.
And it would drive my father crazy because Troy had like incredible bowling average.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a good
boy. Nice.
He was a nice bowler, you know. Whereas Troy was a bowler, me, I got my recognition on the football and the baseball field.
You were nice in basketball too.
Yeah, and
You tell me stories about LD where you out there.
yeah, just summer leagues and everything.
I heard.
I really didn't come into my own on the hoop court until after high school.
Okay.
You know,
right.
In high school, I mean, I can truthfully say my first love, my first passion was, and it still is, has always been baseball.
Okay.
I mean, I can play. When I was, you know, started with my softball, I did play every position on the softball field.
Okay.
I played all 4 outfield positions. I played short, third, you know, and I really got into the softball big when I went to work at Texaco Research.
Okay.
I went in.
The teams there.
Yeah, I went in as a temp employee.
There you go.
The assistant manager of the facilities, the department we worked for, informed the guys, hey, you know, I'd watched this kid play baseball his whole life. And his name was Vinny Wyatt. And Vinny was an Italian. My family, I had Italian uncles growing up. Uncle Vinny, Uncle Paul, the Wyatt family.
Okay.
And I mean, you know, and oh my God, Danny Hanna, you know, another uncle. And, you know, if I did anything wrong, they saw it, you know. God forbid anybody mess with me and they saw it.
Yeah.
You know, they were very protective of us growing up.
I love that.
You know, I remember when I started at Texaco, my Uncle Vinny was the assistant, like I said, manager. So he had his yard leader, his name, guy Kenny Schofield. Everybody said, you know, this guy Kenny's an asshole, you know, because a couple of guys I knew when I started, you know, you're going to have to meet Kenny. He's going to introduce you to manager, the assistant manager, who's Vinny Wyatt. I said, Vinny Wyatt, you know? And they're like, one of the guys said, you know Vinny? And the guy that said it was, his name was Mike Cabrera. He was in the facilities, but his wife and my mother were friends. And Mike knew me coming in.
Gotcha.
And I was like, yeah, I know Vinny. I said, it's Uncle Vinny. And he's like, hold up, wait a minute. And so I explained everything. As a matter of fact, the house on Spring Valley Street was brought from the Wyans.
Okay.
So you had to, you know.
You guys are really plugged in. I like that.
Really plugged in. And Kenny, you could tell he was racist. You know, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
When we go in, you're going to put your head down and don't look at him. And you just answer yes or no.
Really?
And he always said, balls. Yeah, okay, Mr. Wine. I said, okay, Mr. Schofield, whatever. You know, I need this job. I ain't go. Yeah. You're going to end up looking like the asshole when everything's done. Right? So we go in and Vinny's there and he's like, yeah, Vinny, this is our new employee, Lou Swain, you know, blah, 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 blah. You know, I'm going to have him do this, and guarantee he's going to be no problem. He's going to, you know, be a good worker. My head's down and Vinny's like, look at me. What's wrong with you? And I was like, what? He said, why don't you look at me? He said, Louis, what's wrong? I said, well, he told me. Right? He told me to keep my head down. And shut up. Yeah, basically. And he said, what? And he looked at Kenny and he's like, that's my nephew. And he looked at me. He said, why didn't you tell me? You didn't ask. Listen, you came at me like this. I'm just my first day.
That's right.
You want to make an ass out of yourself? Go right ahead.
That's it.
And it was funny because Vinny's wife, first wife, Sheila worked at Texaco too. And Uncle Albie's mother, Aunt Pluggy, she was there. She was second in control in the personnel department. So this guy didn't know how many people, you know, I was plugged into. But with Texaco, it was funny because, like I said, Uncle Vinny told the guys to start a softball team. So we started the softball team, and there were a couple of guys that I played with in Beacon that I knew. They knew you. And they had their own team because at one point in time, Texaco had enough employees to field 5 softball teams with guys on the side. Yeah, that's so you figure on a softball team, each team, let's say each team averages 15 people. Yeah, damn. That's 75. You know, a chunk of people right there. And that's how big Texaco was. And so I'm playing softball. I'm there. I'm having a good time. I'm working. You know, everything's good. And Texaco, there's Armont Texaco, and they had their own softball team.
So we got tied into a whole nother network.
So what happened was and Texaco had their own newsletters. And back then, Beacon had its own football team, men's football team. So a lot of us, you know, that worked at Texaco and the surrounding areas all played the football and all that, right? So Armont, one of the guys down in Armont, an executive, is talking junk. His name is Kevin Zamudio. And me and Kevin played on the same softball team on our open Monday night. Kevin's talking junk to the execs up in Beacon. Blah, blah, blah. So what Beacon did was, out of the 5 teams, they took 3 teams. They took all-stars. They considered all from each team.
And put them together.
Put them all together. And we had a team. And, they wanted Brian Moselman to play short, but he's out of town on a tournament somewhere. I don't know. Mose couldn't be there. So I had to play shortstop. And like I said, they had the newsletter about the whole thing. It was the best of 3. 3 games. I think I batted close to 850.
Oh, yeah, you were
Hit a,
getting
you know, my
you
name
was getting them out of there.
yeah, my name was all through the newsletter and
Mm-hmm.
all that. And Pat Lykin, who was in charge of facilities, came to one of our in-house games, and we're playing, and he's there, and he's like, "Luke, you know, can I talk to you?" "Yeah, Pat. What? How far can you hit the ball?" "I don't know. Let's see." I
Get him out of there, man.
crushed it, right? And he's like, "Oh," he goes away, comes back with 2 cases of beer for us and everything. And so I go in, and my Uncle Vinny's like, "Hey, I don't know what you did." He said, "But Pat wants to know if you want a full-time job with Texaco."
See, off of that relationship alone.
Yeah, and I was like, "Uncle Vinny, no." And he's like, "What?" I said, "No." I said, "I put an application in with the city of Beacon."
What a plan.
And I said, you know, I don't want to. He's like, "Oh, yeah, hey, you got to go with Beacon.
Yeah.
You know, if you can get in." And that was because of one of the girls that I met at Beacon who knew that I was also involved in Pop Warner. Her name was Louisa Batista. Awesome female player. Awesome. I mean, she had an arm that was stronger than most men. Mm-hmm. And she threw the ball on a BB. I mean, if you didn't pay attention, she threw the ball at you, she could knock you out. That's how hard she threw.
Got some serious softball work out there.
Yeah, and but she knew Randy Cassell, and one of the guys that I used to hang out with, Mike Mazzacchio, he would take me to we go to the Who concerts together, him and my boy Kenny. We all play basketball together, open gym. You know, that was, you know, my white family. And Kenny and Mozo, they basically, I mean, Kenny's the one that introduced me to college basketball scene, big time. He took me up to had me become a member of the Merritt's Red Fox Club. So we used to go watch Merritt's. Okay. But back then, Merritt's had Rick Schmidt.
Oh, man.
So you know
that classic Hall of Famer right there. Nobody know about him.
Yeah. But what people didn't know at that point in time, Rick Schmidt was a part of the tallest, if I'm not mistaken, the tallest front line in the NAACP. NAAC.
NAAC.
I know he played NCAA.
I know he played Marist.
He played for Merritt 4 years. He's called the Flying Dutchman. Yeah. Rick Schmidt was 7'4". Yeah. They had another guy, Rudy Bubarel. I think Rudy has a son that's in the NBA now. Rudy was 7 foot. Mm-hmm. And then they had a guy, I think, over by the Ukraine, Romanian area. Mm-hmm. His name was Mirno Praskarski. He was 6'11". Okay. So you had a 7'4", 7 foot, 6'11". Towers. All on the front line together.
Towers.
And I remember going down to Madison Square Garden, Rick Schmidt against John Sally in the NCAA tournament. Oh, what a game! What a game! Yeah, they almost eliminated.
I remember the battles with him and Reggie in the Knicks. So I know what you're talking about.
So I mean, yeah, I watched him all through college and everything. Yeah. And but these guys, you know, they got me. Thinking about education. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, Kenny, if I'm not mistaken, retired the superintendent of Rockland County's highway of Rockland County, something like that.
He took the position over?
He ran the...
he retired as that?
Yeah. Yeah. But...
yeah, I'm sorry.
Shoot, they had me, they introduced me to, you know, open up my eyes to a lot of things and everything. And, you know, Kenny used to tell me, you don't know, you can't do it until you try. That's right. You know?
Yeah. I'm sorry, we got off on a tangent there.
I mean,
so the softball game was big.
Softball was.
Definitely.
Oh my God! When I went for my interview with the city of Beacon, believe it or not, my superintendent was Bill O'Keefe. Right next to him was Randy Cassell, who ended up becoming the mayor of Beacon. I walk in and Billy looks at me. He's like, Swainie, like, hey, Bill, how you doing?
Just off the field alone.
Yeah, and he's like, we at that point in time, we had been playing against each other, never on the same team.
Either way, he knew who you were.
Yeah,
he knew who you were, though.
So he said to me, he said, Swainie, if I give you this job, will you play third base for me? Will you play base softball for me? I said, yeah. I said, but you already got a shortstop. He said, nah, we'll slide you over to third. I said, okay, I can play third. You give me the job, I'll play third.
Yeah.
No problem. Right? And he said, okay, you got the job.
That's it.
Yep, and that was it. And I
That's all for that.
started, my career. And as a matter of fact, me and Billy, we became pretty close through the years because his son Bobby, who was also friends with Amber and Othello.
Yeah, she too.
Bobby, he wasn't, the elevator didn't go to the top floor. Great kid, though, great kid. Me, Billy, Othello, and Bobby, we would go down to Yankee games together and everything. We'd be at our football games, Bobby and Othello on the field, Amber's behind us, cheering, and Billy would turn around, why don't you put on a skirt and just go out on the field with the cheerleaders? No, I only cheer,
So,
But, so, I mean, to this day, Billy's still, a good friend, and his two sons, Justin and Bobby. As a matter of fact, whenever I see Billy's second wife, Ronnie. Ronnie's brother, Mark, used to be a Beacon police officer.
Okay.
Mark ran, did the K9. Oh my God, all the kids knew him. All the kids knew him. And now he runs a security company. He's one of the guys that told me, oh, you need to come work for me at the school. So I got to get in contact with him, and I'm just waiting for my license to come in now. And I finally sent everything away.
Okay, so you can begin into the security.
Yeah. And I think I got a gig over in Newburgh.
At this point,
32 hours a week,
Easy money.
Yep.
Easy money. But
working 10 to 6.
Let's kick it back to I think we did from 5 to 10. So 10 to 15, what was life like for you from 10 to 15?
10 to 15, that's when I really, really started getting into the sports.
Okay.
I played, my mother had me in football, baseball, and basketball.
You have no free time.
There was no time to get into trouble.
Yeah, good.
And I loved my sports so much that my mother used my sports this way. Yeah, you want to act like a knucklehead? You can't go to your baseball game. Or you ain't playing football there. Oh, you got a basketball game, but guess who didn't act right? And you going to the game, but I'm talking to the coach and you sitting on the bench.
Gotcha. So they tied you into the sports and then use that as a... Okay.
I mean, that's basically what got me through high school. No lie, the sports. Because at the age of 13, my hip came out of place. And
at 13?
At 13.
So it started since then?
Yeah, it started then. That's when they found out that I had a rigid type 1 malignant hyperthermia, because they had to put the leg in traction to pull it back down because the hip had moved out that much.
Okay.
I had to use crutches to get around.
Yeah.
And they had my leg in traction, weights on the end, and to pull it down gradually. I was in the hospital, I want to say a good 6 to 7 months. When they went to put the pin in to lock the hip in place, that's when they found out I was allergic to anesthesia.
Okay, so they couldn't put you on.
So they couldn't, the hip was in place where it was supposed to be. Oh man, I mean, those were some dark days. I mean, my mother and father, they had 2 other kids. They couldn't be with me at the hospital all the time. I remember days just looking out the window.
13 years old.
Yeah.
What was running through your head then?
this sucks.
Yeah, of course.
This sucks. The biggest thing, believe it or not, wasn't that I missed my sports.
Yeah.
I mean,
13-year-old, you know.
here I was an all-star catcher, getting ready to go. I mean, I couldn't play baseball anymore.
Yeah.
That hurt more than anything.
Okay.
And then
And this is for the Beacon School District you were playing for?
I was playing the Beacon in-house rec league.
Okay.
I didn't get the opportunity to play for the school until I was in the 10th, 11th.
Go Bulldogs.
At 11th, in the 11th, the doctor finally said, okay, you can go back. They let me play basketball in the 10th, just to monitor to see how everything was. And I played basketball in the 10th. Then they allowed me to play football and baseball in the 11th. So, it was funny. In my senior year, I got out for the baseball team. And I played in the 11th. And so we're doing batting practice. And, all the guys that are on the team, they all knew me from Little League. We had all just, a lot of us were on the same team all through Little League. And so they knew me, I knew them. We had hung out, and one of the guys, Danny Martiak, he's watching me run down balls, and we call Danny Yacker. One of the best ball players I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean, ever seen.
Yeah.
And he's watching me run down. He's like, oh man. He said, what we could have done in Babe Ruth together, Because me and Danny were always on the same team. Me, Danny, and this other guy, Joey Yanarella.
Okay. Undefeated?
We didn't always win, but we won more, way more than we lost.
Gotcha.
And I remember when my mother passed away, Joey's at the wake. He comes walking through and he comes up to me, and he's visibly upset and everything. And he's like, he says, fucking sucks, Lou. He said, who's gonna watch us play ball now?
That's right.
Because my mother had been watching him and me and Danny ever since we were 10 years old.
Okay.
And it's funny, one of the kids, KB, his name Keith Barrett, Keith didn't play too much in high school or anything, but he still plays sports. We played basketball, softball, all that together and everything. And Keith was one with the mouth. He'd run his mouth, never shut up. And then he, like, Keith, stop swearing. You got the kids around. And whenever my mother come around, he's like, okay, I'm shutting up. How you doing, Miss Swain?
He got it together.
Yeah, he pulled it together real fast for her. And, they really, I mean, she was well respected.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Throughout the whole community. You saw what the church looked like.
Yeah.
For the funeral.
Outside the doors, man. Oh my goodness.
And
yes.
But I mean, I had great role models growing up, man. I really did.
I think that's like primarily required, man. You need that, man, growing up, man. Keep your head on straight.
Nothing for nothing. When my father didn't have it on the athletic end, he had it on the work end. He showed me, this is your family, this is your home. You want a home, you ain't gonna be a drug dealer. You're gonna get your ass up and you're gonna go to work.
Yeah.
And he showed me, okay, you work.
How long have you been working? Since you were 18?
Since I was 13.
Okay.
I started, I remember my parents, no, not 13, 14.
Okay.
14, 15? No, 15. 15.
Okay.
Yeah, because I could start, I was out my crutches when I turned 15. I was 14 going on 15.
Okay.
And my parents were going down south to visit my grandparents. And I got back in the day, they had the summer help jobs. They took the school kids that wanted jobs. And Like, yeah, I'll take a job and I'll watch my father work. If I want money, this is what I got to do. I got to work. So my father was like, well, I really want. He's like, but I understand you want to work. He says so, and I stayed with my grandparents for like 2 weeks and worked, and then my parents came back home, and I worked the rest of the summer and everything.
You made some good money over the summer then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was funny. My mother and father, they were like, okay, yeah, you worked. Nothing for nothing. You're not going to blow your money.
Yeah,
you're going to buy your school clothes. After you buy your school clothes, then you can do whatever you want with the rest. And so that's what I did. I got the school clothes I wanted, and I never looked back. I mean, after I did that, I went to work for, back then it was Grand Union.
Oh, man.
On Main Street.
A lot of people don't even know about Grand Union.
And
I think it went out of business when I was like 6 or 7. It was on the way out as I was coming up.
Yeah, one of the guys up the street from us, Mr. Story, he was in charge of the vegetable poultry. And he was like, yeah, come on down, put in the application. So went down, put in the application, and I worked there. I worked all the way up until I was allowed to play sports.
Okay.
Once I was allowed to play sports, I was like, yo, I got to go.
There goes the job.
Yeah, I want joy time and everything.
So give me 18 to 25. So you're out of school.
Out of school,
I'm
18.
sorry, you mentioned something earlier about graduating from NFA.
Yeah, it was funny. Because I remember going to NFA and I'd have to catch the bus over and then have to sit there all day.
Yeah.
And back then, Newburgh and Beacon weren't getting along too well.
Why, man?
It's just the nature of the beast, man.
We're
We're programmed.
Poughkeepsie, Beacon, and Newburgh. Like, why? What?
Listen, we are
really there?
programmed to self-destruct.
Yeah.
Basically.
Pretty much.
It's why did I hate the guys from Newburgh?
Yeah.
I don't know. Why did they hate me? I don't know.
As someone who's from Poughkeepsie, lived in Newburgh, and my wife being from Beacon, I really could not understand. Like, I really could not get it.
And I remember going up to Poughkeepsie, hanging out, and people finding out that we were from Beacon, and then getting chased back into my vehicle.
Instantly being a problem, yeah.
Yeah, and so like this one kid and his boys came down to Beacon.
Yeah.
And they said he was a nice kid. All I knew, he was from Poughkeepsie. Mm-hmm. And I whooped that ass.
It never stops, man. It just keeps going.
Whooped
It keeps going.
And the thing about it is, he is probably one of the nicest guys they said in the world.
It's crazy, man.
But he was from Poughkeepsie.
But he's from Poughkeepsie. Nothing else but the label from him just being from Poughkeepsie. That's crazy.
And
that's crazy.
I mean, how many brothers got hurt unnecessarily behind that shit?
That's crazy.
How many brothers died unnecessarily behind that shit?
That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
And
all the same from every spot I've been. All the same. Ain't nothing really.
And the thing about it is, there were kids from Beacon moving to Poughkeepsie. So what? You're supposed to hate them now because they're in Poughkeepsie?
Poughkeepsie guy came in Newburgh. I was just like, all right, well, I gotta get my stuff. So let me do my 2 years, keep a low radar, and get up out of here. So I really never understood it, but I'm pretty sure the girls had a big impact of it. Oh, you messing with my girl from this town. Oh, you messing with my girl from Newburgh. You know what I'm saying? So I'm pretty sure they put a lot into it.
Root of all evil.
Yeah, right. So
and a lot of it is stupidity too, because you know what? If that girl don't want to talk to you and she want to talk to that brother over there,
yeah,
it's her choice.
Pretty much.
I mean, even if she wasn't going to talk to him, she still ain't going to talk to you.
Sadly enough.
So 18 to 25.
Yeah. What was Mr. Swain getting into? What was you doing on a day in, day out basis?
Those were the black op days.
She said black op. Put the goggles on with the
I
mask
had a
on.
period of time where, oh my God, that's when my eyes opened.
Yeah.
I turned 25. I was like, I mean, because all the way up until it was a blur because I was working at IBM. I was working 3 jobs,
Oh, you were getting paid.
getting paid and being broke half the bar gas money on Monday because I'm getting high.
Cause you're getting to it, man.
And I said, you know what? I said, fuck this. And I had a Toyota Corolla and the clutch was going. And I said, you know what? I need to get a new vehicle. So Nissan was having these special sales, right? I go up to Nissan and I get me a Nissan pickup truck.
Yeah.
5-speed. The only thing that it came with was a rear bumper. So I'm working. It didn't even have a radio because I remember that first winter. Me and Uncle Elby up in the East Mountains by where Mariah Carey's Shark Camp is.
I heard about that.
You ever been on those roads? They're windy, woody
I
roads.
personally, no, I haven't been on that.
And I had just got 4-wheel drive. I had a little box. We put it in between us. And we had a 12-pack. And we're riding through the mountains in the middle of a snowstorm having a ball. Knocking them back, just laughing.
I heard you.
And from that point on, I just like, it was, okay, now you don't need to get high like that no more, you know. You had your fun.
Yeah. That happens around that age.
You know, and I was like, okay, you had your fun. Now let's get down to it.
Okay.
And it's funny how when you stop, how many people try to bring you back. You know?
That's deep.
And,
That's deep.
and
That's deep.
you know, they're supposed to be your boys, but they're not really your boys.
Yeah. It's
And
nostalgia. You know, a lot of those things really kick in.
and it's like, yo, I basically became selfish.
Yeah, you had to.
Yeah, I got to take care of me. If I don't take care of me, who? You know what I mean? Because you know what? My mother and father were like, yo, you want to act like a knucklehead? We can treat you like a knucklehead.
Yeah.
You know, you got to pay rent. You got to do this. You got to do that. Okay? Because you wasting money unnecessarily. I mean, and I was like, yeah, they're right.
Yeah. Oh, and hold on. And I'm sorry, but I meant to say this, but what was, and if we could come back to this, what was life like coming up with Aunt Kathy and Uncle Troy? You being the oldest. What was life like?
Whew. Uncle Troy couldn't do no wrong.
Okay.
Okay. Neither could Aunt Kathy.
Okay. So
Because that was Daddy's girl.
Okay.
And Uncle Troy was
Mom's baby boy.
baby boy.
Okay.
So if my parents told me to, like for instance, we'd be down the street at a friend's.
Okay.
My mother, hold your brother's hand on the way home.
Okay.
Troy, no, don't hold my hand. Don't hold my hand. Pulling away. Pulled away, jumped in front of a car.
Man.
Almost got hit. The car stopped. Didn't hit him, but it freaked him out so bad he fainted.
Yeah.
Ma, he pulled away. I got my ass whooped.
You got thrown in front of that.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was a lot of that. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean,
You had good times with your siblings? Honestly,
I had a better time with me.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no lie. Wow. Because being the oldest, I mean, my parents, I don't know if they were aware of what they were doing, you know, in regards to the siblings, you know. But I was always last. So nobody enjoyed being around me more than me.
Gotcha.
You know, and once I started making my money, and I was like, you know what? If this is the way it's going to be,
then
I'm good to go.
Gotcha.
And for the longest, like I wasn't even there at my mother's 50th birthday party. They threw a big birthday party. I kicked in a ton of money.
What? Ooh, I wasn't around then.
No, you weren't around then. And I threw in a ton of money, and my boys, everybody went to the party, and they were like, your mother was real. I said, well, you know what? I got to do it. I got to stand up for me because, now they know how I feel and everything.
Yeah. That's
and the later part of our lives, those were the better parts.
Okay.
So
as kids, it's like, you can't stand these little motherfuckers.
I mean,
growing up, it got better.
As I got older and more matured, and they realized, you weren't the one we should have been doing this shit to.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Because I was the one, like when my father had the drinking problem, right?
Okay.
I remember he got pulled over in the police station. They could have gave him a Dewey. Mm-hmm. They didn't because the officers knew me. Yeah. I had played softball with them, and we all hung out.
That paid off.
So, and I'd go get him. My mother would call me up. Hey, Lou, your father's down at the club. He's drunk. Yeah. His boys took his keys. Could you go get him? Mm-hmm. I'm the one.
So you would really be
I was the one. Yeah. I was at the end. I was the one handling. Doing what I was supposed to do. But I felt if I was treated wrong, you're not going to treat me wrong. I'm just not going to. I was one. You know what? I'm just not going to talk to you.
I got you. It's not going to be.
I ain't got time for it. And guess what? If I'm not talking to you, I'm not going to be sad. Yeah. I'm gonna keep doing what I got to do. Yeah. I'm gonna keep. Watch me.
I hear you.
Shit. And it was sad, but it was great when my father was told he can't drink no more.
Okay.
When the doctors made it, this is what's happening.
Clear, like, yeah, it's done. Yeah.
And me and him, our relationship, oh my God. That man used to make me, we had some of the fucking best.
Yeah, you gotta give me some, please.
He would just sitting and laughing and talking. He's telling me about, how my grandfather, his father, they go down, they had their everybody, like, cause my grandfather, he had no education.
Okay.
Down in Georgia. My grandfather he knew his name was Arthur.
That's right.
And on his gun stock,
that's right,
there was a big A carved into
it. That's it. And you know his.
And he'd tell me stories about when, I remember once, goddamn pig, because my grandfather had a big spread and he had pigs and all that, right?
Oh, yeah, fun.
And one of the pigs kept getting out. And it was a monster pig. It was grandfather's prized pig. Mm-hmm. And fucking thing, he's like, goddamn thing keep coming out, blah, 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 blah. I picked up a rock and threw it at that motherfucker. Hit him right in the head. He killed him.
Damn.
So he said, my father said, what happened? I don't know. He said, you don't know? No. I said, okay. Well, come on, help me bear him.
Bear him? Cook that motherfucker, put that motherfucker on the stick.
Now the meat was...
It was decaying by that.
Yeah.
He didn't get back up. But, okay, yeah, no, I always wanted to, get an idea of that, you and your siblings coming up, how that really was.
I was very,
but like you said, later in life, it was better.
Yeah, but I mean, even though we didn't get along, I was very, very protective of them.
That's what the oldest is supposed to be.
I mean... I can remember Troy being at a party. I'm at home in bed, right? Mm-hmm. And they took his car. People at the party took his car. Mm-hmm. So he calls me up. I come back, sneakers. Yeah, I boom, 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 boom. Took care of business right there on Main Street.
In Beacon.
And, I remember my cousin Truck. I had caught the last guy, had him up against, back in the day, this bar, Touch of Class. Mm-hmm. Had him up against the Touch of Class window, and I'm trying to punch this kid. Mm-hmm. And Truck's like, no, you're too mad. And no, they, like 2 or 3 of them are holding my arm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, Lou, you're going to kill him. You're going to kill him. Mm-hmm. I'm like, Truck, I had to get up out of sound sleep, come down, because these motherfuckers took my brother's car. Mm-hmm. No, but he's saying he didn't have anything to do. He was in the car, so he had something to do with it.
Yeah,
you know,
like
guilt
that.
by association.
That's right. That's right.
You know,
that's right. And so, after that,
very, very protective. I remember.
You got someone on Kathy?
Aunt Kathy, I remember. Oh, she was a sneaky ass. Oh my God.
Love you.
I used to sell, you know, Ace bags, you know.
Got you.
And I only sold enough. I mean, I would get it from my boy. I sold enough where I could get my weed free.
Got you.
So I sold them, and Kathy and Troy would find my bags and pinch out of them. I mean, as we get, I remember Kathy going, yeah, I used to, whenever I wanted something, I go right and pinch it right out of your bag.
Shout out to Aunt Kathy.
And I was like, you were smug. She said, only every once in a while.
Meanwhile, the bag was like,
oh man. I was like, okay.
Okay, then so. All right, so yeah, let's take you back to 25. So like you said, you're out of it. You're looking to settle down. You're looking to calm everything down and get your life together. You're getting more focused on you.
Yep, because
give me that. What happens
after that? Like I said, I'm working. I'm taking after that, and I get my truck. Our job at the IBM maintenance. Since I was a foreman, a new company came in, brought up the company, and let all the foremen go, replaced them all with their foremen. Yeah. So I'm collecting unemployment, and my father could see I'm worried. He's like, yo, you'll find something. Don't worry.
Yeah.
You're getting unemployment. Just make your truck payment, and you'll be all right. Yeah. So but back then, I would do anything. I was aluminum.
Relying on anybody, it's naturally weird. So
and the thing about it is, I didn't have to work because I was getting unemployment, and that took care of the bills. But when you're used to watching your father get up and go to work,
that shit is programming. That's programming.
And I was like, nah, if he's getting up and go to work, I gotta, so I was the jack of all trades for the longest and everything. I didn't have a CDL, but I can drive a big box truck, and I hop in that and I drive it.
Get to work,
and shoot, and like I said, I did odd and end jobs all the way up until I got with I got in with Texaco. I was with a temp agency for a while, right? And the temp agency had me flagging. You ever see the guys that are on the side of the street cutting the wood?
Gotcha.
I did the flagging for them. First, it started with Central Hudson, and I remember the guy at Central Hudson. You go in to go to work. The weather's looked bad, and I was the line splicers. I was with those guys. And they'll be like, Lou, we're not going to go out today, the weather, because they're dealing with live shit. And so I remember,
bad weather.
I go up to the foreman. I was like, yo, man, could you send me somewhere else? I want to work. And he was like, what? He said, most of the people that do this job that we get temp-wise, if we send them home, he said, because they'll give you 4 hours. I don't want 20 hours a week. I want 40 hours a week back then. You know what I'm saying? Right. I want to work.
That's right.
So he's like, yo, he said, listen. And he's the one that helped me get with flagging for the line people.
Gotcha.
And it got me more money, and I did that. And then we were with a really good crew, but they lost the contract. Okay. And this new company came in, and they were like, well, we're your bosses, and this is what you're going to do. And I'm like, hold up, wait a minute. Wait, you're not going to put us in unsafe situations. I said, this job doesn't pay enough for me to, risk my life. And, I was like, don't worry. I'm not going to be here come Monday. And after that, I left that, and that's when I started at Texaco. And I was at like I said, I was at Texaco for a good 4 or 5 years.
How old were you when you left Texaco?
I started with the city. I was 27 when I left.
So you left Texaco at 27. You started with the city at 27.
I think I started with the city at 28, 29.
Damn.
Yeah, 29. I'm getting the years
How
screwed
many
up.
years? How many years you put in? I thought it was 30 years.
With the city, yeah, I put 30 years with the city. So 29, I retired at 59.
There you go. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
29, yeah.
Okay.
And I did 3 years with Texaco, so yeah, I was with Texaco at 26.
Okay.
And I left Texaco and went to the city.
Into the city administration. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay then.
Yeah, I know the years. Screwing up on the years.
So yeah, you know.
See what happens when you smoke a lot of weed?
So,
But I'm happy.
that's it. That's all that matters.
I'm happy. Listen,
So you know.
I wake up in the morning. I'm ahead of a lot of people. I mean, I got a ton of friends that aren't with us
Can't
anymore.
repeat the same thing. That's
You
right.
know?
That's right. You know, and I
And
think life's a blessing. And
Shoot.
like you said, you go ahead as you start the water plant. I'm pretty sure you met Miss Swain around that time.
I met her before. I was at
You were at
Texaco
Texaco when you met her.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was at Texaco.
Okay.
And it was funny because she was on. She had the kids, 4 kids.
Yep.
And she was, getting public assistance. And she'll tell you, I fell in love with the kids before I fell in love.
Yeah. I hear that story all the time. Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? We can make this work. I said, but if I'm going to get a job, you got to get a job. We got to,
work together.
You got to get off of public assistance.
Yeah.
Altogether, and she's like, okay. That's all she said was okay. So I started with the city in August. She started with the state.
She got the state job and you got the water plant.
Yeah, and so we're together and everything. And I remember, we were living on Rector Street, and I couldn't take it anymore. Living on Rector Street.
Yeah. Above the bar.
No, that
Okay.
was here. Spring Valley Street. Rector Street was one street over.
Okay.
And I mean, her girlfriend and there were roaches, and I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And it was killing her too.
Gotcha.
And I said, Stacy, I said, I can't. She said, I get it. She said, I don't want to be there. She said, but I can't afford to move. I said, well, if you find us a place where we're comfortable.
Yeah.
I said, we're going together. I said, find us a place.
Yeah.
So she was in a rush. She wanted to get the hell out of there.
Gave her the green light. She's like,
Yeah, she was like,
let's go.
And we're looking, she's looking, she's like, you know what? Yeah, it's a bar, but it's got 3 bedrooms, a bath, big. She's thinking the kids.
Yeah.
So 3 bedrooms, okay, no problem. Above a bar, okay. So we moved in. She's pregnant. We're getting married, saving up for the ring. I'm doing side work, all that, getting our hustle on.
There you go.
We get married. Tiffany's born.
Sorry.
I came home one night. Dude's pissing right by the front door. Right? He was at the bar. And I was like, yo. He's like, what? You're pissing at my front door? My kids come to. I said, yo, man. I said, oh, Lou. And the kid knew me. I'm sorry. I didn't know you lived. I said, Joe, man, there's bathrooms. I said, you know what, man? Get away. Just get away.
Yeah, please.
And I said, and I go into the bar and I'm like, yo, man, to the owner, you gotta police these people.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's a bar. I'm like, yeah, you're right, it's a bar.
That's the problem.
I said, okay. So we go inside and I'm like, this sucks. I'm saying this sucks.
Yeah.
I gotta get my family out of here.
That's right.
So one of the guys that worked with me, his wife worked for a mortgage company.
There you go.
So I said to him, yo, man, I'm thinking about, can I talk to you, to Dave? think you hooked me up with your wife and she can explain to me how to get a house and all this? And he's like, yeah. So I'm talking to her and she's like, Lou, you work for the city, your wife works for the state. She said, I'm sure we can get you a mortgage for at least $100,000.
Wow. I wish some houses cost like that.
I said, what?
Goodness.
She said, yeah. Now, mind you, I had taken a real estate course. So my biggest thing was, are we going to be able to get the mortgage?
Yeah.
I know how to look for the house.
Yeah.
When I have to focus,
You had the state in the water though.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys were solid.
Yeah. So we go. I said, Stacey, we got to get a house. She said, Louis, how are we going to get a house? We can't afford a house. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I said, listen, a mortgage payment. I said, we can do a mortgage payment that's equal to our rent. I said, we can do it. I don't think so. I said, well, let's go talk to the mortgage company and get pre-approved. See if we can get pre-approved.
Yeah.
So we go to the mortgage company, we get pre-approved, like she said, for $100,000. Stacy, ding! So we're looking at this one house on, I think it was Liberty Street, and one of the kids that played softball, me and this kid, Tony Domenico, we played Little League Baseball together, played softball together. I used to go to his house. We hang out, get drunk. What is that attorney, Donna Stilburn? The DWI attorney?
I can't.
Donna Stilburn, I think her name is, right? She used to be there hanging out with us.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, no lie. Here it is, this woman on TV.
Right.
She's been on Fox News.
Right.
She used to hang out and get drunk with us. And I mean, I look back and I'm like, yo, you did hang out with some.
She from this area?
Yeah, originally.
Oh, I don't know.
I think Poughkeepsie, Newburgh area.
Could be Dutchess County somewhere.
Shit, but so I say to Tony, Sam's Realty. Tony, he signs up. Stacy wants to see this house. How much is it?
Yeah.
What can you?
How do we do this?
Yeah, and because mind you, years before when we were playing softball, Tony had approached me about buying, because he knew how much I was working, about buying an apartment building on Main Street for $87,000 back then.
Man, them prices, man. Them prices,
Now,
I wish.
$87,000, I could have brought it and would have ended up selling it for at least, in this day and age, what, $3 to $4 mil?
Oh, man, yeah, we'd have been rich off on a beach somewhere. I'm telling you, man, the prices, man, I pray. I wish and pray they ever get back to that.
And it's funny, I kicked myself in
and
the
we're
ass.
that ain't never coming back to that.
Kicked myself in the ass, man. But it is what it is.
What happens? What happened? What happened? When you say you kick yourself in the ass, what happened?
For not buying one of those.
Not following. Yeah, just not following. Yeah.
So Tony, like Lil, he goes to the office, realizes that the owner of the house pulled the house. So he's like, I got another house. So he said, you got a big family, you need a fenced-in yard, all that. So while we were living over top of Frank's, Stacy's aunt lived right next door to our house now, where Lamont and Jackie live.
Yeah.
Stacy's aunt and uncle owned that house.
So not the one that you guys moved into, the one next to it?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was the one you guys moved into. Okay.
Stacy's aunt and uncle owned it. Oh,
Right
shit.
next to it. Oh, it's just a
I'm sorry.
You're good, you're right. You're good. Go ahead.
So,
I always thought it was the house you guys moved into.
no, it was Stacy's aunt and uncle was next door.
Okay.
So when we moved in, they were already, Uncle Jim and Aunt Marta were there.
Okay.
And so,
And an aunt and uncle as your neighbor. That's dope.
but we had already been to the house because they had a rocking chair that Stacy wanted to get. So because the people had passed away and everything.
That's right.
So we've been to the house. So we go to the house, and because Tony's like, yeah, check this house out. And we pull up, and I'm laughing, and Stacy's like, "No, there's no way, Lou. There's no way. I can't live next to my aunt." And I'm like, "Come on, let's just go and check." We didn't check out the full house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, when we got there, when we first moved into the house, that whole yard was trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the backyard had an apple tree, a pear tree, and a apple, pear, and I think a peach with a dead cherry tree.
Mm-hmm.
In the front, where there were tons of pine trees, like the one that's left.
I was actually.
So I was like, "Yo, we could make this work," you know. And Stacy's mother was dating this guy, Tom. Tom had a wood splitting business.
Mm-hmm.
And so on my days off, he would have me come up. He had a dual hydraulic splitter.
Mm-hmm.
And he had me split wood all day, and he paid me like $150 a day.
Gotcha.
And back then,
that was a good chunk of money then.
Yeah. And I worked 2 days for him, 300. Shit. And Stacy, we can make this work.
Yeah.
So Tom was like, "Look, listen, let me take a look at the house with you." So me and him go back, we take a look. Okay, need a new kitchen floor. You're gonna have to pull up the floor, subfloor. So, okay, cool. We say to the people, "Listen, we would love to purchase the house, but right now we don't have the money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to get our credit a little bit better.
That's right.
Would you be interested in renting the house at less, for the time being?"
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, "Yeah," and they went over top. They couldn't rent it to us fast enough once they realized that Stacy was the niece of the next door neighbor.
Gotcha.
Because Aunt Marna had helped take care of their mother.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so before we moved in, I had to do the kitchen floor all over. I had to put down new floor.
Mm-hmm.
What else did I do? Put down new floor. Had to complete the room, Juice's room.
Mm-hmm.
Had to complete that. And put space heaters up there, basically, for the winter and everything. Mm-hmm. So we did that, got that all done and everything, and so we moved in, I think it was Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
Right before Halloween, we moved in. And because I remember carrying Juice around with that goddamn Barney dinosaur outfit on. Mm-hmm. It was raining and it got heavy, and he was heavy and he was crying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, in Mount Beacon Park back then, oh my God, everybody handed out candy and hit all the houses. And it's Beacon. I grew up in Beacon, and now people are seeing me with my kids. So it was like, you couldn't go but one or two houses without saying, "Hey, Luke, Stacy,"
That's right.
And so,
out the way too.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so we finally, she agreed to it, eventually, and we got it. And she's like, because her mother was like, "Oh, we can do this, and this, and we put the work in, and we got it livable. And the girls, it worked out perfect because it was like 4 bedrooms.
That's right.
Because where our bedroom is, we had the binder up.
That's right.
So we would leave our room and go into the living room. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms.
4 girls and 1 boy. So
So Juice had his own room.
Yeah.
And then we had it worked out. Amber and Tiffany once, and JoJo and Chaz.
It's a lot of memories. A lot of memories.
Oh my God!
Oh my goodness.
But now, no lie. I mean, I love the house. I love the memories that it gave us and everything. But it's just too much.
Yeah.
It
it
really
served its
is.
purpose. It did what it was supposed to do. Now, You know,
Hey, I need
everybody's
something
wrong,
with
you know?
everything on one floor where
Yeah.
my wife would.
That's right.
I mean, look, she just had another knee surgery.
Yeah.
She can't walk up and down stairs.
That's
I've
true.
had both of my hips replaced.
There you go.
You know, we want
getting
everything nice and flat.
It's getting there. It's getting there.
You know, we want something like what Gigi's got.
There you go.
You know,
Yep. That's it.
You
Nice and
know?
easy.
Nice and easy.
You know,
I
not too
mean,
much.
it has ample room to. I mean, when you guys want to come over and spend the night, there's room. Hey,
I'm ready.
the more the merrier
I'm
with
ready.
the air mattress.
Let me know, especially
you know?
with all that land you're just talking about. I'm ready.
True. It was funny. I was showing Aunt Kathy some of the UTV parks
Mm-hmm.
and everything, and she's like, "That looks like so much fun."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, riding through. I mean, just out in the woods, and you're driving a vehicle over rocky roads, and you got a vehicle that you can put a cooler in, and you know, you want a picnic, and
I'm down. Sign me up. I can
you
do
know,
that, man.
and some of them even have campsites we found.
Mm-hmm.
So you can camp and then do your night riding, go riding at night if you wanna.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I want to spend the rest of my days, man.
All right, man. So, like I said, like usual, how I end my interviews and how we get up out of them. I'm gonna ask you these questions and just answer them to the best of your ability.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna put a little twist with you because, of course, you got 5 babies. So I'm gonna put a little twist with you. So, let's say, for example, you're going tomorrow, Mr. Swain. What would you love to tell all 5 of your kids, if whether it be separate or each and every last one of them, or just as a whole? What would you want them to know if you would be going tomorrow?
First and foremost, that I love them all, and to remember this: if you can't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of anybody else. So be selfish in that, in regards to that. Secondly, you can love your siblings, but you don't have to. If you can't get along with some of your siblings, you just can't get along with them. You know, just you know, make sure they respect you, but also make sure you're giving them the respect. And if that can't happen, you do what you got to do. You do what you got to do, you know? I've come to realize, dealing with it myself, that, you know, you shouldn't depend on other people to make you happy. You know, make yourself happy. If you don't enjoy your own company, nobody else is going to enjoy your company. And just be happy. Whatever makes you happy, do it. Because guess what? You only go through it one time.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
So, I mean, I'm not saying being mean, victim, or anything
Gotcha.
like that.
Yeah.
But if you know what makes you happy, do it. You know? Be happy. Enjoy yourself. You know? Shit. And everything else is going to take care of itself.
There you go.
You know?
Now, what about your grandbabies? What message would you want to give them?
My grandbabies?
Yeah, what would you want to give them?
Oh, God. Listen to your mother and father. Okay, first and foremost.
Please.
Really.
Please do that.
Because they're not your enemies. They're there. They love you. They want nothing but the best for you.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
There's going to be times when you don't agree, but agree to disagree and always respect. You can agree to disagree, but make sure you always have that respect.
That's right.
If you can do that, you'll be all right. And guess what? No lie, you're all going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes all the way up until you're a grandparent yourself.
That's right.
So don't be afraid to make mistakes, because the more mistakes you make, the more you learn.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right. Well, listen, we off here, man. That's Brown
Shit.
Crown Basement Gems 3, man. Mr. Swain.
My
you.
pleasure.
Love you, my guy. Appreciate you again for coming out
Come
here,
on, man.
Oh, man. Appreciate you, man. Take care.
Anytime.
Until next time, man. We out of here.
Peace.
We out.
Good thing.